Joining me now is Sourabh Guptah. He's a senior Asia-Pacific International Relations Policy Specialist at the Institute for China-American Studies. And we've talked a lot about this trade deal. We've chatted with you about it. Give me your sense, as it now comes into effect, how is this going to shake up the trade environment?
I think it's a great tonic for the trade environment in this day of economic nationalism, protectionism, with the virus and all the debt problems that it's created. This is a ray of light of hope, and that even in these difficult circumstances, these countries are all putting their heads down and moving in the right direction in terms of market opening and market liberalization, which is just going to engender prosperity over the long term.
You say ray of light, but other people are pointing it out as something quite different. Just a couple of months ago, Time magazine had this headline, "Why the U.S. could be the big loser in the huge RCEP trade deal between China and 14 other countries." Of course, as you know, the Trump administration shelved the Trans-Pacific Partnership. The Obama administration had sold that as a pact that would cement the U.S. in the region and act as an economic bulwark against China. So is this basically a one-two punch? Is the U.S. going to take it on the chin because of this?
Up to a point, yes. First, let's have a little clarity out here. China actually did not lead this process. It was an ASEAN-led process on which China was completely on board. And that's why RCEP is essentially those ASEAN +1 FTAs. It's a harmonization of those FTAs and further deepening. But yes, the point you make is a correct one. Remember, it's just the US which has been standing out. For example, the EU and Japan signed a FTA. Of course, the UK and the EU also have their post-Brexit arrangements. China and the EU have completed negotiations on a comprehensive agreement on investment. So yes, the US is falling behind because the US is not participating in these market opening and market liberalization frameworks. And if it did, I think it would be most welcome, frankly, and unfortunately that isn't the case at this point of time.
Yeah, Parag Khanna, who wrote the book The Future is Asian, sees RCEP as the biggest trade agreement that's ever been passed for the region. It covers 1/3 of the global GDP, as we pointed out, so it's massive. What's going to be the benefits to the global economy, do you think?
Oh, China has been the driver of the global economy, and the Asia Pacific has been the driver of the global economy. So that to the extent that they remove barriers within themselves and amongst themselves and begin to grow faster and suck in more imports and become more productive, it's just great for the global economy, as I said, particularly at this point of time. There are also particular elements of RCEP which are very useful. We talk in the little piece that you ran. It was about China and ASEAN, where there was a lot of focus. But the fact of the matter is that in Northeast Asia, Japan, Korea, and China are huge trading powers who have never got a trading arrangement among themselves, and RCEP folds them in. So that also accentuates trade between these parties. It's a living agreement. It's structured in a way to have flexibilities for poorer countries. So this is win-win and win-win for the long term. And as a living agreement, there are countries which can accede to this if they wish to down the line. And I think that's just a great thing, frankly.
Yeah, you already brought up the region, but let's delve a little bit more into that. Are we witnessing a huge shift in global power to Asia? Because one of the interesting things is and we saw this in a story we aired last hour, if you reduce the tariffs, suddenly they have a lot more money that they can pour into R&D. It can change things, can it?
Yes, it can. It can change things, and obviously, the more productive they get, and the more technologically sophisticated they get, because once they keep trading with each other, they will also keep moving up the value chain, the technology ladder, and they will become that much more sophisticated in their economic structures and operate at their productivity frontiers. And it is countries which are reticent of participating in these, and this just doesn't come down to the United States. And a country like India, which should have been a great beneficiary but could not summon the political will to join, these are folks who will fall back. India has fallen back from the rest of ASEAN and East Asia by not participating in liberalizing frameworks. And this does at some point in relative terms have a competitive aspect to it. And therefore, I mean, the hope is that countries which see themselves falling behind realize that we cannot go down the nationalist route because at the end of the day it's self-defeating, and therefore we must change track and get down on the liberalizing path.
Yeah.
And that would, again, those are good incentives to send out to these countries.
Sourabh Guptah with analysis for us on the dawning of RCEP. Thanks so much.
You're most welcome.